Welcome. Glad to have you folks back. So, the other day I talked about the Kennedys, JFK and RFK, and how they were killed. George H.W. Bush and the CIA, along with President Johnson, had a hand in killing JFK in Dallas that fateful day in 1963. CIA also killed RFK, and Sirhan was part of the MK Ultra program. Now, the stuff I found with MK Ultra was flawed to a point. If you had the right person, it was impeccable. You could control almost anybody. The problem with it though was if you had a good will and a good heart, that would conflict with the programming. So with Sirhan, he actually had the good heart and the good will. And the second bullet that they found, or bullets, in that hotel kitchen were from his CIA handler. I have seen the actual paperwork on this. This poor guy is serving a life sentence for killing a politician he didn't kill. He did fire a gun, but his will and heart took over, and he was firing that gun to get Bobby out of that room. That hotel kitchen was just a staged area. And he was the fall guy. Kind of like Oswald. Oswald, there's pictures of him standing in the book depository door at street level when Kennedy was killed. Anybody who has any kind of military knowledge knows that a Marine will not let his barrel hang out a window and give his position away, especially if he is doing something that nefarious like killing a sitting U.S. president. So, with RFK and JFK dead, the deep state was able to start their wheels rolling, so to speak, on the New World Order. George H.W. Bush had a hand in it. Nixon had a hand in it. I'm not so sure about Gerald Ford, and I will touch on those, on Gerald Ford and Reagan. Now, if you take a look, both Kennedy brothers were shot and killed. They were assassinated at the hands of our U.S. government and the CIA. They were against the deep state, they were against the Federal Reserve, and they were also against enslaving every man, woman, and child in this country. So, just to touch on Reagan and Ford real quick. These gentlemen did not agree on the deep state and did not agree on the evil activities that were going on in our government. And if you take a look at the factors, why I say that, and the literature that I found going down this rabbit hole, Ford and Reagan both had assassination attempts on their life. Why would they have assassination attempts on their life? What was the point? The point was to do away with someone that believed in our rights and believed that the deep state was that evil. These gentlemen did not agree on it. They did not agree on the New World Order that Bush was trying to put into place and his cronies. And they also believed in the Second Amendment. So that's just a little something for you folks to think about. Kennedys were killed because they didn't believe in the deep state. They didn't believe in the Federal Reserve. They believed in our rights and our liberties. Same thing with Ford and Reagan. Okay, so after saying this, I'd like to touch on JFK Jr. We all remember John, his iconic salute to his father going down the road during the funeral procession. We remember him as a great man. In 1999, he died in July, on July 16th. Died. Now, the paperwork and the people that I've spoke with one person that was real close to this situation. JFK Jr. faked his death. One of the reasons being the deep state. The other reason being the Clintons were part of the deep state. Hillary was poised to run against him for a Senate seat in the New York State Senate. And he actually wrote down that the plan was to have him assassinated. And the assassination was so that JFK Jr. would not eventually become president. Because he believed that a country as free as ours should stay as such. And the Clintons did not believe that. The Clintons are an evil family. They have a trail of bodies behind them. They've killed anybody who's tried to put them in jail. They've done everything they can to quell the naysayers and anybody who has any kind of cognitive thinking and intelligence on this. So JFK talked to a close personal friend who was a former Navy pilot. And I talked to one of this guy's family members, and I sat down, and they told me they would not let me record or video record anything about our conversation. I know I may sound like a crazy kook, but this is fact. JFK and his wife faked their deaths. And the reason for that is they were scared for their lives. They went into their own form of witness protection. Jackie O and Aristotle Onassis lived on an island off the coast of Greece. Aristotle owned this island. You couldn't get anywhere near this island at this time without having some kind of invitation and being brought there by their security team. And they staged this plane crash in such a way that it was so elaborate that it had the American public and the Clintons and the Bushes and the deep, deep state convinced that he was in fact dead. Not the case. And this pilot, his family member, went ahead and told me how he flew this plane into Martha's Vineyard, or towards Martha's Vineyard, and they recorded certain phrases with JFK Jr. Now, JFK Jr. was a big fan of theater, special effects, disguises, what have you. He was a genius to boot. And this pilot took these recordings, knowing full well the full plan of what was about to happen with the deep state and flying into Martha's Vineyard. So on that day, he was flying the plane. They had two cadavers posing as JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. And a third one that was supposed to be Carolyn's sister. They all staged their deaths. The families were heartbroken until they were actually scooped up one day by the people involved and brought to the hiding place of JFK Jr., his wife, and sister-in-law. Now, with these recordings, they were supposed to sound like they were talking to the tower at Martha's Vineyard Airfield. There was nobody answering back. He knew this was going to happen. So this elaborate scheme that he created was perfect. What better way to get people off your back than to pretend you're dead, fake your death? And that's exactly what he did. So these recordings going back and forth with a dead air tower, so to speak, on Martha's Vineyard were perfect. And as soon as that last recording was played, this former Navy pilot bailed out of this plane. Bailed right out of JFK's plane. A little watercraft, safely mind you, a little watercraft came and scooped him up, and they all rode off into the sunset. Now, in staging this plane crash, JFK Jr. wanted to make sure that there was going to be a long enough time for him to hide and for people to get off his trail. Well, what better way to get people off your trail is faking your own death. I'm going to stress this a lot because the research that I have done and the people I have met with that are involved swear by it. So, in staging his death, this was the best way for him to pop back up years later and expose not only the deep state, but who killed his father, who is involved, and how it really went down. Okay? And on top of that, to pretty much save us all. We're at that point where we need saving. The deep state is drunk with power. They want a new world order. They want a one world government. And this is a real thing. The government reports I've read, the research in my non-omission of what I have actually done, it's bad. It's really bad. And the reason why they want to take your guns is because we're all becoming awake. But that's another point. That's another video. I'm not going to stray too far off this. So, JFK Jr.'s original plan in faking his death was to eventually come back out, expose the NWO, expose the Bushes, expose George H.W. Bush as the main orchestrator of the assassination, and to clear Oswald's name in the end. Oswald was a fucking loudmouth. He went on TV saying he was a Marxist and this and that, he was a commie. Who better than to pick as a patsy to kill JFK than him? And I put that in quotes because he's not the one who killed JFK. And the sniper that I was friends with said there's no fucking way that this guy could have made those shots from that angle, from that height, with a moving target as a subpar rifleman in the Marine Corps. They say once a Marine, always a Marine. Marines take pride on their shot. And my uncle even preached that as a Marine. He took pride in making it count. The pink mist. Okay? So the CIA, in doing that, killing his father, he wasn't about to get killed. Just like his father and RFK before him, he wasn't about to get assassinated by Hillary Rodham Clinton and Bill and the deep state and the cabal that lurks in the shadows that a lot of people don't realize is actually running this government. So, this island off of Greece, nobody could get close to it. I said that. Alright? He hid there for years, he and Carolyn. They have 2 kids, one of which is 18 years old. And their family has been seen behind, can't stress this enough, behind Donald J. Trump, our president. Our sitting president, that is the first one in I don't know how long, maybe since JFK, that isn't part of the deep state, isn't a deep insider of Washington snake politics. Washington politics are very corrupt. And the reason why I say it's very corrupt is because we see this whole Russia collusion thing coming out. Now there's no evidence against this. The Democrats in the deep state and the other deep staters on the right side of the aisle for the Republicans wanted this to come out, and they wanted it so bad. It's not in what you can prove, it's what's in the evidence. And if you're going to try and prove something, you better have the fucking evidence to back it up that he is a Russian plant or the Russians worked with him to get him elected. That is false. So all you little liberal whiny crybabies out there saying he's a traitor, no, he's not a traitor. You're just a fucking moron to think that your news is telling you, oh, well, Russia collusion, this and that. There's no goddamn evidence against it. There's none. So what now? What are you going to blame him for? You're going to say, oh, he's a bad man. He speaks his mind. Well, you know, a lot of people didn't like Jackie O when she was married to Jack. And when she was First Lady, because she spoke her mind. She smoked. She was very reserved. She was a classy lady, but there was no fucks given there. She'd call you out on your bullshit. And that's why I love her so much for what she did. And that poor lady watched her husband right next to her get killed at the hands of our government. And then had to deal with her son's death. There was no real funeral. The bodies they pulled out of the plane, they couldn't even decipher who the fuck they were. And it's in the reports. So, at these Trump rallies, JFK has had numerous disguises. JFK Jr. And we, my friends and I, these people that are my contacts, have gone over the facial recognition programs and even dug on who the hell Vincent Fusca really is. There's no documentation of him, no birth certificate, no financial records of this guy. So who the fuck is he? And he's been putting messages behind Donald Trump during his rallies. Now, in a few videos, he's shown writing JFK. Alright, and the woman, his wife standing next to him, Carolyn Bessette, has been seen looking at him. Now, I've had professional lip readers, I guess we could call them, look at this footage over and over again. And she is quoted saying in this footage, "What about the junior?" So then he would retrace JFK and then put Jr. next to it. And the aging programs we've used have shown that Vincent Fusca is indeed JFK Jr. These programs, they're not 100%, but it goes to show that Carolyn and JFK Jr. are indeed alive. Now I'll touch on Vincent Fusca's wife. His wife is Carolyn. The aging programs we've used has aged Carolyn to look like this woman. Now this isn't doctored. You know, have you seen me missing people's little inserts in the mail over the years, and they age these people however long they've been gone. Same programs, same type of software as JFK Jr. and Carolyn. Now, this Vincent Fusca character, Vincent in Latin, translate to conquer or conqueror. Fusca means dark or darkness. Conqueror of darkness. What do we consider the dark or the darkness of the state? And I say the state, I mean Washington and the federal government. The deep state is the darkness. The evils that sit and lurk and lie to you every fucking day. Okay? So, Vincent and Carolyn, are indeed JFK and his wife. They have 2 children. Their son is 18, and their daughter, the intel is spotty on this from other people, but the ones closest, there's a 2-year difference between the 2 of them, just under a 2-year. So you have a daughter that's 16 and a son that's 18. Now you got to ask yourself, why would they go to this trouble? Because they don't want to die. Why would you put a major witness in a trial for the prosecution and witness protection program? It's not because they deserve it. They do deserve it. They deserve not to die. They deserve to live a life. They change their identities, their names, everything. They put them in some podunk clusterfuck town where nobody would know them or nobody would think to look. So it's the same thing with this island and Vincent Fusca and Carolyn. The woman is indeed Carolyn. The smile, the eyes, the nose, and it's the same thing with Vincent Fusca. The aging program that we used is indeed JFK Jr. posing as a Vincent Fusca. And the reason why he's hiding in plain sight now is because he's coming back. The Clintons are fucked. The Bushes are royally fucked. And a lot of the other folks that were involved in enslaving and fucking this country up in the deep state are going to see the end of the hangman's rope for treason. Treason against the American people. So, that's pretty much it for today. Just remember, think for yourself. Don't let the mainstream media tell you how to think or what to think. Remember, folks, you have a mind of your own, and I'm just here to help you and teach you about the shady doings and goings-ons that this government partakes in. Just remember, Vincent Fusca, JFK Jr. is alive and well, and he's coming back, and he's coming back in a big way, folks. Thank you for your time. If you like what you hear, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, post some comments. I don't mind at all. I'd love to hear from you folks. Thank you. Have a good day.